What's going on, stars? It's me, Shot a Star, and this is where we are, right? I know it sounds a little corny, but I'm trying to get it together. Try something new, razzle dazzle. Um, Listen, right now I am drinking some fruit infused water. You know how I do. This is what I'm drinking. Stay hydrated. And I want to continue to thank you for supporting my channel. Please continue to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Please share the video. I need you to do that for my algorithm to pick up. And I know I complained to you guys a few days ago about my numbers and stuff, and it seems from the last video or so, it seems to be picking up a little momentum. But I need to get to where I was. I love you guys, and I know y'all can take me there, right? Okay, so I know that my last video I talked about Mary J. Blige and Misa Hilton's lawsuit being dismissed. Well, little background in case you didn't know, Misa and Mary have been best of friends allegedly, and definitely called each other sisters for the past 30 years or so. And allegedly, Misa felt that she filed a lawsuit against Mary J. Blige, her so-called sister, allegedly, saying that Mary stole Vado, which is a rapper and a singer. And whatever. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, I hope they can work this out, because when you're friends with someone for 20 to 30 years, those friendships, you have invested a lot of time and energy into them one way or another. You know what I mean? And hopefully if you can work it out, work it out. Nevertheless, um, the case was dismissed. The judge went against Misa and sided with Mary J. Blige and said that they dismissed the lawsuit. And allegedly, one of the main grounds was because Mary stated that Misa's management company only existed in name alone. M-I-S, what was it? Misa Hilton. Anyway, her production company, which was spelled using her name, wasn't a legal, real company. It was just a name, meaning you're not established as a company. You don't have a tax ID number. Those type of things, allegedly, is what I'm saying. And Mary stated and must have proved that Misa's company was just a name in the name. That's all it was worth. Sure, she's probably managed people before or did different things, because we know that she's an amazing stylist. She has definitely contributed to fashion, definitely. Let's be clear. And we know that that's Puffy's first baby mother. You know that that's the mother of Justin. So you know who she is. But and apparently Mary had proved that the company never existed. So how can she really manage anybody if she doesn't have a management company? And Mary, we now knows that she does have a label. Okay, so we talked about that. Well, Mary announced on yesterday, which I find a little shady. I'm gonna tell you why I think it's a little weird, but then tell me if you agree. Mary announced on yesterday that she's gonna start a Las Vegas residency on May 1st, if I'm not mistaken. It says Mary J. Blige announces Las Vegas residency and how to get tickets. So what I did was I tried to do the little footwork so you didn't have to. So I could have said, go to this website, the tickets are on sale. I really, as of last night, I couldn't really get any prices. I did get the diagram of the MGM, the place that she's going to be doing her residency at, the theater, because listen, residencies seem to be the new thing now, where instead of you traveling around the world, you plant your feet in one place, Las Vegas, and at a hotel or something, and someone's sponsoring you, and, the MGM Grand or wherever. And people come in to see you, which is great for you, and it's great for the city, Las Vegas, because people are coming in to see you. Okay, and because Usher's had a very successful residency, Celine Dion, and then there's been on and on, right? So, and hey, SWV, what are you waiting for with this residency? SWV, you got so much music in your catalog. You need a residency where people can just know where to come to see you on any given day. Okay, just saying. Anywho. So Mary announced that she has her residency. So, like I said, I went and tried to do some of the footwork for you guys. Anyway, her residency starts on May 1st, which is a Friday at 8 p.m. It's the first show. It's at the Park MGM in Las Vegas. Now, I couldn't get any real ticket prices because I wanted to tell you how high they were or if they were good. But this is what I will tell you. What I couldn't get any prices, but of course I got the stadium and or wherever it's the theater that she's using for MGM, Park Theater. So her residency starts May 1st, right? Then she is May 2nd. Then she doesn't do another show until May 6th. Then her next show is May 8th. Follow me now. One more show is May 9th. Now, after May 9th, the shows stop. They don't start back again until July 10th. So what I'm thinking is that Mary, this from the May 1st to May 9th is going to be the that's going to be getting the kinks out and, working things out. Now, I don't know if it was me or not, but if it was just me, but wasn't Mary just on tour like not long ago at all? Or did she just do a bunch of shows? Because I remember seeing all these memes and people actually being funny or making fun of her at times about her being stiff and just the old moves and just they were like reading it and Mary's not in her 20s or her 30s and allegedly maybe not even her 40s anymore. So, and Mary has never been the performer. Let's be good. Let's be very, very clear about that, right? So I don't know. Maybe if she plants her feet, not if she does, she's going to plant her feet here for the residency. And hopefully she'll find her niche and people will live for her. I know quite a few friends that are Mary J. Blige fans to the end. So for you, you know where she'll be. Now, I do have to say, now, Mary, real talk. You're going to have to up your game. If you're going to do a residency, you're talking about shows maybe 3 times a week. You're going to have to up your game. I don't know. You're going to have a stadium of dancers, or you're going to have to get a stool. I don't know what you're going to have to do, but what you've been given and what I've been seeing is not going to really cut it. And I say that because this is not just us like buying a ticket at Madison Square Garden and we live in New York and live in New Jersey and we're just going to a concert. You're talking about a residency in Las Vegas where we have to fly in, book hotels, rent cars, do things, so it's not just the ticket price you're talking about. We're talking about a lot of little different elements to it. And before you shoot yourself in the foot, your show better be one hell of a show. And let me tell you something. Me saying it's your friend right now, so she's not going to be able to style you. You need one hell of a stylist because your outfits, me showing my age, outfits, your wardrobe is going to have to be everything. And it normally is, let's be clear, but gone are the days that you walking around this stage with these stilettos looking like your feet hurt or that you just played a game of football. I'm just saying, girl, you don't want your fans to be mad at you and end you forever, like stop messing with you forever, because once someone buys these round trip tickets, and there ain't nobody coming to the concert by themselves. So a group of people buying round trip tickets to Las Vegas, booking hotels, renting cars or transportation, and just, girl, I'm telling you now, Mary, you better. Well, anyway, so like I said, from May 1st to May 9th, she'll be performing. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shows, right? And actually, it just popped up on her schedule. I don't know if her tickets are selling the way she thought. Now, mind you, she just announced it yesterday. But what I've been noticing is, like May 8th, like she's performing from May 1st to May 9th, right? May 8th, lowest ticket prices coming across the bottom, meaning they're offering really low ticket prices for this particular day. Meaning that maybe she sold out in other days, but this particular day she's not sold out. So they now have lowest tickets prices. Okay. Well, now while I'm talking to you, I'm watching it live, right? Her first show, May 1st, girl, has come up with low price tickets. Look, this is what I'm gonna say. Girl, okay. May 1st now is popping up low price tickets in May 8th. Now, like I said, she's doing a show May 1st, 2nd, 6th, 8th, and 9th. So she's doing 5 shows. Already, the first show for May 1st is offering low ticket prices, which lets me believe, allegedly, that the tickets aren't selling well. And then now May 2nd and May 6th, that's not that case for that, right? Then May 8th, low ticket prices. They're saying low prices. So from May 1st and May 8th, they're saying low ticket prices. And again, like I said, her show will start back on July 10th. So I'm assuming everything will go well. What I will say about this, and I'm going to get off of this subject. Look, Mary, let's talk a little bit. Because I've been, I'm of a certain age. I've been around since you've been around, right? Okay. You're not a performer in that manner, and your vocals have come a long way as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you was the ish back then, but vocally, I actually like you more now than the hop around, jump around. I really don't mind listening to your vocals. Just saying, this is just me. Your fashion is always on point. We love you, Mary. You're that. All of us growing up in Brooklyn had a Mary on our block or somebody like that, right? Nevertheless, you're not a performer. And I think the problem is you doing a concert in Las Vegas where people, like I said, have to come to you. They don't want no boring show, Mary. You're going to have a stadium of dancers, not just 3 or 4, because you're not that girl in that manner. All right? So I don't know, work it out, Mary. But yeah, for those of you that are Mary fans, May 1st, the first show on a Friday of May 1st at 8 p.m., they offering low ticket prices. And then again, for those of you on May 8th, they say the lowest ticket prices. But those are only 2 days that they're saying that, but the other, I'm just letting you know. Okay? Now, moving on back, staying in entertainment and moving on to Salt and Pepper. I don't know how many of you guys are aware that Salt and Pepper filed a lawsuit against Universal Music Group, UMG, and stating that, a lot of artists now, Salt and Pepper, they signed their first contract back in 1986. And I know to the millennials and the young people, you're like, wow, back in 1986. And back then we didn't have social media, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have streaming. So things are done totally different now. So for the artists that had filed contracts back in 1986, they didn't cover you for the things now, but what I am learning that a lot of those contracts requested that after 20 or 30 years, your music, if you own it, comes back to you. It comes back to you, right? After 20 or 30 years. And like I said, was 1986? So look how long that's been. So they filed a lawsuit back in, let me read it to you and then we'll get to understand it. A judge has dismissed Salt and Pepper's lawsuit against Universal Music Group, UMG, ruling that the duo did not establish ownership of their master recordings under the Copyright Act. So they were assuming that after 20 to 30 years that they could get their music back, right? So it says Salt and Pepper, the iconic hip hop duo consisting of Cheryl Salt James and Sandra Pepper Denton, filed a lawsuit against UMG back in May of 2025. They sought to reclaim control over their master recordings, claiming that UMG was unlawfully refusing to honor their rights under the Copyright Act, which allows artists to reclaim ownership of their works after a certain period of time. And like I said, sometimes that's 20 years and sometimes that's 30 years. The duo had sent termination notices back in 2022, aiming to regain their rights to the early recordings, including hits like Push It and Shoot, some of their biggest hits, right? So of course they want the ownership back so they can, because people are now using this music in TV shows and movies and just different things, right? So there's other ways to make the money. Well, on January 8th of 2026, U.S. District Judge Denise Colt dismissed the lawsuit, siding with UMG. The judge found that Salt and Pepper did not have the termination rights they claimed because they never owned the copyrights to the recordings in question. The contracts they signed back in 1986 indicated that the rights were held by the first label, which name was Noise in the Attic Productions. And I think allegedly that might have been Herbie Hug, Love Bug, and whatever. And we can go into that in a minute, right? And it states that that first artist, the first label that they signed to, Noise in the Attic Productions, and not by the duos themselves. So Noise in the Attic Productions actually owns the music, not themselves. So the Judge Colt stated that the statutory text, well, they're going to go into a lot of little verbal things as far as the codes and the law and stuff. So what happens is they filed their lawsuit back in 19, signed their first contract back in 1986, but that contract didn't give them rights to their music. The company that they signed to, which was Noise in the Attic Productions, and I believe that might have been Herbie Lovebug, I think, allegedly. So, and I don't think that they ended their relationship really well, the duo or Salt and Herbie, allegedly. So I don't think he'll be handing that, or whomever will be handing that over, because if you remember, Push It and Shoot are like two of their biggest hits. Even they've had more, but those are two big hits for them, right? So, it is what it is. I don't know what to say about that. It's been dismissed. So let's see what the next step was. Okay, let me tell you this, right? Now, I've been holding this one for a little while, and I'm not going to keep you guys, right? Back in December last month, I was out shopping one day in Mount Clair, and I decided to go to one of our favorite restaurants called Sweet Teas. This little Southern soul food infusion little restaurant in Mount Clair. Very charming. If you like it on the weekends, they have a live band. It's jazz and stuff like that. Really cute, right? And African American owned, so that's a point too. Okay, so I noticed that I went and did some shopping, then I wound up driving through Mount Clair. And if you know the areas, you have Orange, East Orange, Orange, West Orange, South Orange, Livingston, Mount Clair. All of these are towns. It's not like New York where you have boroughs of Manhattan and Brooklyn. These are little clusters of towns, and you can drive 5 minutes. In some of the towns you can drive through real quick, 10 minutes, depends on what you're doing. And Mount Clair, these are different, and all of them have more money than the next. You know what I mean? And for instance, so anyway, I'm in the restaurant, I'm sitting at the window, and I'm sitting there eating, I'm by myself, and I think I see one of the Baldwin brothers. At the time, I didn't know it was Alec, but I knew it was one of the Baldwin brothers, and he was with two other women. And they kind of walked in front of the restaurant, and they just happened to stop and start talking. And I, mind you, sitting feet away from them, I'm like, that looks like one of the Baldwins. I'm not sure, because that he has a way of being really scruffy at times, and I'm not familiar with what his wife looks like, so I didn't know if that was his wife or whatever. So I said, okay, whatever. I'm not the type to approach celebrities or well-known figures in that, because what I do know that from working in the industry somewhat and being friends with some, well-known people, they don't like that. They don't mind you, but when they're having dinner or they're with their family, you have to show respect. If you can get a picture real quick, fine. But to chase them down the street and keep harassing them for an autograph, they're people too. So I know better than that. So I was like, okay, maybe. And to be really, really honest with you, I wasn't that like, oh my God, one of the Baldwins. It was just, to me, surprising that it was actually a Baldwin, because I know that he lives in the city. You always hear Alec Baldwin getting into issues with paparazzi. He's had a couple of scuffles allegedly and fights with paparazzi and stuff like that, right? And then we also know about the thing that went on the movie set where he allegedly discharged a firearm that wound up having a real round in it and killing someone and all of those things. I'm sorry, unaliving someone, right? So again, I wasn't that surprised, because again, in this small cluster of the area I live in and neighboring little towns, we have Lauryn Hill, we have Wyclef Jean, we have Dionne Warwick, we have Whoopi Goldberg, you have Mona Scott Young. I see Mona Scott Young in the supermarket so much. Yeah. Charlemagne the God just moved out here in this area. In that area, Mount Clair area. I don't want to give out where he lives, but in that area, quite a few people, So it's not like I've seen Lauryn Hill's daughter in Stop and Shop or something like that. Like, it's not a real big crazy thing. Okay. So, and then I left there. And I wound up walking up to this antique. Before I went to go to the garage to get my car, I went to this antique shop a block or so away. And, they also on Mount Clair, you have Cuban Pete's, a very, a Cuban restaurant a lot of people like, Well, I went to the antique store that was down a block from there, just looking at little things. And I wound up walking back to the garage to my car. And guess what? I saw who I thought at the time was one of the Baldwins. and one woman, and I think we had parked in the same garage. And I, again, like I didn't run up on him. I was like, okay, I think that was him. Boom. Well, come to find out, Alec Baldwin and Hillary Baldwin, his wife, are reportedly, they say considering, but they're moving to Mount Clair, New Jersey, allegedly, right? The couple has been house hunting in the upscale suburb and has begun applying to schools in the area. They have expressed a desire for a reset, meaning, they have from what I understand, they allegedly have a penthouse in Greenwich Village or something, and they have 7 kids and a pig and a dog and they got little things like, allegedly a lot of little pets, dogs and cats and little pigs or whatever. And they have 7 children plus mom and dad makes 9 plus pets. You need a farm, but that's just me. So they need more rooms. What they're saying, they also have a house in the Hamptons, and I guess they thought about going to LA, but they said they love their place in the Hamptons, so they wanted to be someplace where they can go back and forth. So them living in the Village is easy for them to drive up to Hamptons. They're already in New York, and then and then if you live in New Jersey, you can drive up to the Hamptons easily enough too. So it says that they stated that they don't want to leave their home in the Hamptons and they want to finish raising their children as Baldwins. So they decided to move to Mount Clair. They come to a town that, well, it's a lot of notable individuals. They even start to name up other notable celebrities that live in the area. Okay, fine. I think that's a good thing. Congratulations. And if they're already applying to school, they're more than considering. And at this point, this was last month, so I'm sure at this point, they probably already moved in or in the process of it allegedly. So, well, to the neighborhood or to your neighborhood. We ain't got nowhere near the type of money that the Baldwins and all of them. So it's neighboring towns, okay? Because the way my block is set up, if you go 3 houses away from my house, you're in another town. That's how it is. Like, you know what I mean? And then you may go another 6 or 7 blocks and you might be entering into another town. Anywho. So it was him that I was seeing is what I'm saying. So mind your business. I wasn't completely wrong. Because I told Leighton, I was like, I think I saw the Baldwins. He was like, the Baldwins? He like, if I would have said allegedly Remy Ma or Fabulous or something, that was easy to think of. But then he was like, oh, like, and I kind of thought about like maybe he died in Mount Clear, but come find out it was. Okay, so we're going to move on to the nurses strike that's now going on in New York. And I'm sure that you are aware because from what I understand, 15,000 nurses are now striking. This says 15,000 nurses from major New York City hospitals walked out in historic strike. Okay, so they're saying nurses from Montefiore, New York Presbyterian, and Mount Sinai hospitals are striking for safe staffing, healthcare, and protection against workplace violence, right? Okay, so I'm going to take this down and let's talk about this a little more because if I'm not mistaken, we went through a nurse strike not that long ago, if I'm not mistaken. However, 15,000 nurses are on strike. And like I said, they're from Montefiore Hospital, New York Presbyterian Hospital, and Mount Sinai Hospital. So those 3 hospitals are now striking 15,000 nurses, and they're striking for higher pay, safe staffing, fully funded benefits, and workplace safety protection. So they're not playing around. And once somebody explained to me that's in the business, in the profession, they explained to me just yesterday about the strike. And they were saying, you have to really consider when a group like the nurses go on strike, because once they go on strike, then other groups and departments want to go on strike. Well, oh, you got this, so now we need to get this. So it kind of is like a domino effect, And I understand, but listen, during the pandemic, I understand we lost nurses, we lost doctors just because they were doing their job, and that made me look at the profession. And the thing is, I have some very family members and very close people that are nurses on a daily basis. Quite a few of my group are nurses. To be honest with you. And it's a hard job. It's a hard job. And what I've learned lately about nursing is, which I mean, I'm not a nurse or a doctor, just play one on TV. I There's so many aspects of different groups of being a nurse. People think when you think of a nurse, you're thinking of the hospital and the one that's taking your blood or the one that's coming around. You have nurses in every sector, and the nurses that I have in my life are not necessarily bedside nurses. These are nurses that manage groups of nurses and things of the sort. So anyway, anyhow, it's a selfless job. And I think that they should get everything that they need and that they want and that they deserve, you know? So moving on, I'm going to tell you one more story and then we are moving on. Now, I told you the story about Nick Reiner, right? And we know that Nick Reiner allegedly unalived his father, Rob Reiner, and mom, Michelle Singer Reiner, right? And we reported. Well, I found out yesterday through TMZ and Dr. Drew, right? Yeah, this is interesting. Now, if you see pictures of Nick Reiner, his weight, he's really gotten really big. He kind of blew up. And they say that he suffers with some schizophrenia and a few different things, right, going on. And they seem to think, or they're alluding to, allegedly, that his weight gain is because of a medication change that happened 30 days before the unaliving of his father, Rob Reiner, and mother, Michelle Singer Reiner. They're stating that he went to the doctor allegedly. Quick story, I'm going to read, but I'm going to tell you what it is. He went to the doctor. He was complaining that he's gained so much weight and he doesn't like it. He doesn't feel good with it. He doesn't like to pretty much go out. He's gained a lot of weight. Boom. So somehow he's talked his doctor into changing his medication. Well, when you change these type of alleged psych medications, these are not just aspirins and Tylenol. These are medications that are trying to keep certain things under control, such as schizophrenia and allegedly other things, right? And they changed his medication. So it says Nick Reiner weight gain was a significant factor in his spiral leading to the unaliving of his parents. His mental health struggles, including symptoms of schizophrenia, having other different disorders, exacerbated by the weight gain caused by his medication. The switch to a new medication that had its own side effects of weight gain led to the erratic and dangerous state, which escalated as the days went on. Despite the family's awareness of his change, because from what I understand, that the parents had contacted allegedly his doctors or whomever and stated that they are noticing different changes. And this is all within the 30 days of the unaliving of his parents. And they had reported that he's been more anxious, the different side effects, unable to sleep, just doing things, whatever that was, right? And they had noticed whatever it was. And they said that they were unable to intervene due to a lack of a temporary psychiatric hold. So I don't know what that was about. And the doctor's decision to change his medication, this decision, along with the worsening of his mental state, contributed to the tragic events they believe that happened on December 14th, 2025. Now, tomorrow would actually make a month. And they started seeing his medicine was changed, his medication was changed a month before. And the family did report that they were seeing some type of change in him. And they were seeing that, this may not have been a good thing. And we don't know. So I'm absolutely sure that we have not heard the end of this. I love you guys. I'm not going to keep you much more. I want you guys to be intentional. I want you to check on your strong friends. And I want you to remember to subscribe, like, comment, and share. And again, let's show a little more love than we did last year to one another, really. I love you guys. See you soon.